Brendan Banfield will likely spend the rest of his life in prison. He's awaiting sentencing in the so-called au pair trial, but the nanny who he was having an affair with, who admitted to putting the kill shot into Joseph Ryan, well, she is about to be sentenced today. Some people think she might get time served. That was a deal they worked out. But will Judge Penny A. from the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, she is a Marine, will she be as easy on her? We're about to find out.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, SDS Nation? Welcome to the global phenomenon that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. No sleep till Brooklyn. That's our motto, or till sentencing, or till they find Nancy Guthrie. That is what's going on within Surviving Survivor the last few days. And got to tell you, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. We've been going nonstop with Nancy Guthrie's story. And, of course, we covered this trial, Brendan Banfield versus the Commonwealth of Virginia, Fairfax County, Virginia, to be precise. It was a couple of weeks back that Brendan Banfield learned his fate, and that
the Honorable Penny Asperati presiding.
He was convicted. Here's Judge Penny A. Prop Joe Explains. Check out our YouTube channel. Prop Joe Explains.
Judge, did you want to do that before? Yeah, let's just do that right now. All right, because Mr. Carroll, I think, is here. Mr. Carroll, if you want to come forward, just on the case of Commonwealth versus Brendan Banfield, Mr. Banfield's presence has been waived. Mr. Carroll is present, and Commonwealth is present. This comes on your Commonwealth's motion to seal two of the defense exhibits, correct?
Judge, yes, two exhibits, and we're actually going to orally add two more. We have been approached by Mr. Phillips, representing Inova Hospital and a member of the public, about another case that includes, another exhibit that includes personal information. So the defense exhibits we would ask to seal are 120,
right,
121,
okay,
122, and 123.
Right, and that has protected patent information, is that correct?
Protected health information or protected personal information.
Okay, all right, okay, so I got you. All right, any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right, we'll go ahead and seal those for, I assume there's many patient information in there, is that what it is?
There, yes.
Okay, so 120, 121, 122, and 123, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'll grant your motion. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Judge.
Where's your client, Mr. Carroll? Oh, wait.
All right, Commonwealth versus Magalhaes.
Joe, real quick, what are you
Good morning,
expecting here?
Mr. Campbell.
Thank you.
I'll be interested to see whether the state simply says the recommendation is time served and then says nothing else, or whether they actually make a pitch for it.
Someone said Joseph Ryan's mother is, that's Kimberly B., who lives there and was in court, says that says that Joseph Ryan's mother, not Kimberly B's, but Joseph Ryan's mother is in the gallery there. So are we expecting victim impact statements here? Here she comes.
Right, the case of Commonwealth of Virginia versus Juliana Perez Magalhaes. Ms. Perez Magalhaes is present in the courtroom with her attorney. The Commonwealth is present. Comes today for sentencing. Are we ready to go forward today, Mr. Campbell?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, have you reviewed the pre-sentence investigation report with your client?
We did, Your Honor. No changes, additions, or corrections.
All right, does the Commonwealth have any?
No changes, additions, or corrections.
All right, I'll make the pre-sentence investigation report
Most
part of
states
the
allow
record.
victims to
The
make a
Commonwealth,
statement.
as far as evidence, I do have,
Find out.
I have victim impact statements that I have already reviewed. Is there any objection to those victim impact statements?
Your Honor, my position, I talked to the Commonwealth, is that some of them fall outside the definition under.
Okay, which ones? Or are you objecting to certain ones, or are you not?
Your Honor, the specific ones are the ones that relate to Christine Banfield, so the
Okay.
family members of Christine.
So you object to those victim impact statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Judge, what I would say to that is that certainly the statement of facts that we presented, and that is included in the pre-sentence report, includes information about also the murder of Christine Banfield. I understand that this charge itself reflects the killing and the murder of Joseph Ryan. However, I do think that the voices of Christine Banfield's family are important in this hearing as well.
I understand, but he's only been charged with the murder. I mean, she's only been charged with the murder of Joseph Ryan. So the only victim impact statements the court can consider are the ones based on which the Commonwealth has charged her with. So I can only take into consideration the victim impact statements from Joseph Ryan's family.
Understood,
Okay,
Your Honor.
so I'll do that, and I'll grant your motion, okay?
That's
All right,
interesting.
do you have any other
Only hear
evidence?
from
Judge,
Joseph
I
Ryan's
do,
family.
in light of the court's ruling, I'm going to have two witnesses to
Okay.
call. The first of which is going to be Deirdre Fisher.
Okay, Deirdre Fisher?
She is appearing via Teams.
Okay, ma'am, if you could just raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Ms. Fisher.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the court?
My name is Deirdre Maureen Fisher.
And can you tell the court your relationship to Joe Ryan?
Joseph Ryan is my son.
And can you tell the court of any psychological injury that you have received resulting from this offense, or any changes to your personal welfare, lifestyle, or relationships resulting from this offense?
Is this outside of the statement that I
No, ma'am.
am going to read?
You go ahead and read your statement.
Oh, so I read it now?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
Joseph Ryan's mother, everyone.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Penny S. Ascaretti, for giving me the opportunity to talk about the impact of the murder of my son, Joseph Nathan Ryan. My baby boy was born 2 days before Christmas, making that our special holiday. His middle name was Nathan, which means gift. Since Joe's murder, I haven't been able to take down my little Christmas tree, which sits behind the urn with his ashes. I say good morning to him each day when I turn on the tree's lights. But of course, that's not Joe sitting there. He can't say, I love you back. When Joe was taken from me cruelly and callously, murdered by Juliana and Brendan on February 24th, 2023, I lost so very much, more than I can possibly name. I lost my confidant, someone who knew me deeply, listened without judgment, offered advice with my best interests at heart. I lost my biggest ally and my cheerleader. That empathetic voice saying, Mom, you got this. Mom, you should be kinder to yourself. I lost my rock and protector. The person who flew down repeatedly to take care of me when I had cancer. I lost the comfort of knowing that my son would be there to care for me when I'm an old woman with illness or dementia, just as he cared for his grandmother and grandfather. I lost my financial sustainability due to grief's torturous effect on my health, both physically and mentally, which has affected my ability to work and function. I lost my peace and sense of well-being. I can never unhear Joe's moans and cries after he was shot, the cries of a dying man. I can never unsee the image of his lifeless, bloody hand from the trial images. I lost nearly all my friends who couldn't handle dealing with someone lost in grief or understand why my life can't just go on. I lost the chance to ever be called grandma. I will never have that. I lost the sound of Joe calling me, the most beautiful word in the world, Mom. I lost my Christmas baby, Joseph Nathan, my greatest gift. The impact of Joe's loss doesn't go away. Will never go away, but only grow. So many tears, so many times reaching for the phone to call him, only to remember that he won't and can't pick up. So many times hearing the phone ring and wishing it was him, calling me out of the blue about something happening in the world or in his life. So many empty Christmases and so many birthdays without him singing to me in his awful yet beautiful voice, tone deaf. So many moments of trying to remember the exact sound of his laughter and fearing that someday I won't. So many sleepless nights. So many nightmares of his brutal murder and fear, confusion, and of the pain he must have felt. So many screams and guttural cries into my pillow, feeling the loss of my son. So many moments of reading horrible things online, lies told about who Joe wasn't. So many moments defending and explaining who my son was and why he couldn't have committed the murder of Christine Banfield. God rest her soul. So many conversations with others, draining them and me of a chance to make happier memories together. So many stomach aches. So many doctor's appointments, hospital bills, feelings of shame about my health. So many times wishing I could tell Joe about another milestone in my weight loss journey, seeking better health, knowing how encouraging and proud he would be. So many lost moments, so many moments of loss. My son's life was used and thrown away, seen as worthless and utterly disposable. Disposal by those who plotted and executed his brutal murder. Do I think or dare hope that there will be justice for Joe's death? For my loss as his mother? I don't believe that's possible. What I do hope is that even for a moment, that the world and you, Judge, will say Joe meant more than nothing, that he was someone worthy of dignity and life, who didn't deserve to be used and thrown away, treated as utterly disposable. Thank you for listening and for weighing the trail of pain and loss Juliana left in the wake of her calculated, cold-blooded murder, with her life and future as her only concern. My son, Joseph Nathan Ryan, was not and is not disposable. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Please answer any questions that Mr. Campbell may have.
All right, cross-examination? No cross-examination. Okay, thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Thank you.
All right, your next witness?
Judge, the next witness that I have is going to be Ms. Sangeeta Ryan, who is present in court.
Okay, Ms. Ryan?
That was Deidre Maureen Fisher, Joseph Ryan's mother, very, very powerful. She called him her Christmas baby. He was born 2 days before Christmas. That is tough to listen to.
Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law? Thank you.
Saying he's not disposable, and the woman that killed him is sitting there with her hands crossed, hoping she gets out today.
I know. She said he meant more than nothing.
Yeah, unreal.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name for the court?
Sangeeta Ryan.
And can you describe your relationship to Joe Ryan?
Is this where I read my statement? Who I met, Joey Nathan Ryan, was my nephew. And Honorable Judge Ascarati, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you for allowing the Ryan family to speak up for our Joey Nathan Ryan. We thank the jury for helping us achieve justice for Joe and Christine. And we thank the Fairfax County Police Department, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and all that helped, and we are grateful for justice. So our family has remained silent since the devastating loss out of grief, but also out of respect for the justice system. For us, Joe did not just die on February 23rd, 23. He was murdered over and over again, every time lies were spoken, every time his picture was posted alongside salacious stories told by two wolves in sheep's clothing who perpetrated this crime and attempted to destroy the memory of two remarkable people. Julia and her boss/lover intended to snuff out the life of two innocent victims who deserve to live full and meaningful lives of their own. Well, while we acknowledge the defendant for eventually coming forward with the truth, telling the truth doesn't absolve her of responsibility. Honesty is something we're taught at a young age. Telling the truth doesn't erase the harm. It simply allows others to move forward. It doesn't bring Joe back, and it sure doesn't bring Christine back. Hearing the truth has finally allowed us to exhale. It validated to the world what we already knew, that Joe was not the monster he was portrayed to be. Rather, Joe was an elder brother, a brand new uncle, the eldest cousin and confidant to four. He is my beloved nephew and a son and grandson to his loving family. Pardon me 1 second. We acknowledge that Juliana was a young woman in a foreign country, in love with her employer in a situation where the power imbalance was not in her favor. But where our compassion ends is with the one other responsibility. Juliana was entrusted with and received payment for the care and protection of a small, innocent child. And Juliana, I feel, failed Valerie repeatedly. She was trusted to protect this young charge, but instead chose to cause irreparable damage. She robbed her of her mother. She stole childhood memories. She chose to partner in the brutal assassination of her mother's character, as well as her beautiful being. The defendant and her boss/boyfriend convinced Valerie that a stranger broke into her home and killed her mother, when in fact the monsters were the very people who cared for her after the loss. Julia and her boss worked to erase her mother's existence and credibility and place the blame on an innocent man. Our hearts go out to all of Christine and Valerie's family. What an absolutely incredible person she must have been. But may I tell you about Joe? Joe is loved. Joe came to live with the Ryan family. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Take your time.
Joe came to live with the Ryan family just days after his birth. His birth parents, Dad, Sean, and Deirdre, who you met, were teenagers, so Joe lived with and was raised by his paternal grandparents, Connie and Jim, for all of his life. As a young child, Joe, who we call Joey, was fun-loving and loved from the beginning. He was inquisitive, curious, smart, charming, and so dang talkative. Joe approached strangers and passerbyers with random and nerdy questions about Transformers and movie characters and the Legend of Zelda video game characters and who would win in a battle between this person, and he respectfully waited the answers, whether you knew them or not. As he grew into adulthood, Joe's hobbies included building or painting anything that used his fine motor skills. He loved martial arts. He had a great love and respect for our environment, animals, especially mistreated, neglected, and ugly dogs. And he rescued many injured and less loved dogs, bringing them across the country in his travels safely home to the home he shared with his grandmother. Joe cared for people, he cared for animals, and Joe didn't hurt people. When Joe's grandfather, Pap, required care due to a debilitating stroke, Joe left his life in Virginia and moved to Florida to serve as the full-time caregiver to his grandfather, the grandfather that supported him from infancy. When Pap developed dementia and had to move into a memory care facility, then Joe moved back to Virginia where he began to take care of his grandmother, who had begun to experience health problems of her own. Joe took over transportation for medical appointments, hospital procedures, food shopping, and the bond between Connie and her grandson was as close as that of a mother and child. Joe would never have put himself in a dangerous situation that would risk his ability to continue to take care of his beloved grandmother or his old ugly dog, Kitty. I'm sorry, she's not ugly. When Joe didn't come home, Joe's grandmother, Connie, lost the gentle man that she and Pap raised as their fourth son. Joe's sudden murder devastated his grandma, who was 81, and devastated her so much she could no longer live in the family home without Joe, and quietly and quickly sold her home to dodge memories, grief, and reporters to move closer to my husband and me. My husband is Joe's Uncle Jimmy, and I'm his Aunt Gita. In Joe's absence, my husband and I made the decision to leave our careers and to take over his grandma's support and care team. We continue to do that today, and we think about and talk about Joe every single day. Honorable Judge Asgarati, we feel Joe and Christine were targeted by the worst kind of monsters, the kind who live among the victims and wait until they're the most vulnerable. We feel as a woman, a caretaker, and as a daughter, Juliana had opportunity to stop this brutal assassination. We think she could have warned Christine. We think she could have warned Joe that morning. This could have been a very different ending where Juliana saved 2 lives. But that's not. At least she should have done the job for which she was being paid to protect a child. She did not. So many opportunities to do the right thing, and Juliana over and over chose not to. And while we acknowledge that she found the strength to tell the truth, it doesn't absolve the responsibility. So today we leave here finally standing as Joe's family. This nightmare's ending. It's our hope that Juliana doesn't walk free, but continues to reflect on how she became capable of doing this, so that when she does return to Brazil, she never victimizes another person, never betrays another child in her care, and never again places selfish desire above human life. She doesn't deserve to profit. We hope that can be enforced. The reality is, though, she will be free one day, and our hope is that she carries the weight of the lives destroyed, that Juliana chooses to live as a decent person, and that she is truly remorseful. The sentence that Juliana receives today is not the only one given. We all carry a life sentence of grief, even after hers ends. We ask for peace. We ask to be allowed to move forward. Today we move forward by returning Joe's kindness to the world. We say his name proudly. We invite the world to finally know the man we protected in silence for so long. He is loved. We miss Joe, and our family is devastated by the way he was ripped from our lives. Joe won't complete painting his unfinished Warhammer 3D figurines. He won't compete in any more live-action role-playing battles with silly, hand-created foam weapons, nor his mixed martial arts or video game battles. He'll no longer bore us with lectures about eating organic food over junk food, but it's with our hearts we thank you, Honorable Judge, and the jury that was here, members of the court, the police, the detective, the prosecution team, the victims team, and all the witnesses who supported justice for Joe. Thank you so much for listening.
Please answer any questions that Mr. Campbell might have.
Any cross-examination? All right, no questions. All right, you can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Wow.
Judge, I don't have any further evidence, but I do want to acknowledge to the court that the family of Christine Banfield is here today. You can see them to your honor's right,
All right, thank you,
along
ma'am.
with Joe's family.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you. All right, Commonwealth's rest for evidence. For the defense residents, I do have for your evidence the memorandum of support of sentencing, which I have reviewed. In addition, 3 letters that you have provided as well. I reviewed those as well.
Your Honor, I'm going to hand up a few certificates that are misread. They can just be made part of the record there.
Okay.
I like it when they read all the
Part of
letters
file,
and
or
they
do you
just
need
don't
copies? You can
accept
make
them.
Copies of them if you'd like.
That'd be fine, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yeah.
make copies. All right, let me just review them, please.
So I thought that was, I mean, both of those statements were incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
The last person was the aunt, Sangeeta
All right,
Ryan. I'm not
we'll
sure.
Go ahead and make copies of these certificates and make them part of the record as well. All right, any other evidence from the defense?
No further evidence. Your
All right, argument?
Judge, the Commonwealth in this case, as the court is aware, made a recommendation, and the Commonwealth stands by that recommendation.
All right, argument?
They didn't make any argument for her. Good.
No. Just standing by.
What they had to agree to.
Your Honor, the 2 witnesses that you heard from today made it clear that hearing the truth was valuable to them, to the Ryan family, and it was the truth that Juliana spoke at trial. And ultimately, it was her testimony that likely resulted in the conviction of Brendan Banfield. Until her cooperation, the Commonwealth had only a theory. They had circumstantial evidence, but no direct evidence. When Juliana finally came forward, she offered that direct evidence of what crimes she'd been involved in and what crimes were committed by Brendan Banfield. Your Honor, our position is that justice requires that the court follow the joint recommendation of the parties. Justice requires it because it was an arm's length agreement made by an experienced prosecution team with the approval of the head of the office, with the knowledge of all the facts and circumstances of the case, not just the facts of the case, but issues that would be presented at trial, the presentation of evidence and witnesses, sentencing guidelines, and many other factors that the parties consider beyond what the court might realize. Justice requires it because Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield and their families deserve justice. By accepting responsibility in this case and cooperating, we avoided 2 trials. We assured the finality of the decision in this case, and we gave the jury and the Commonwealth and the court confidence that Brendan Banfield would be convicted, as he ultimately was. Justice requires following the agreement because every individual that makes...
Following the recommendation.
Recommendation, yes, Your Honor. And I addressed that in my memo, of course.
Yes.
Every individual that makes a difficult decision to cooperate does so with the belief that the recommendation would be followed or at least considered by the court. The Commonwealth, the courts, and prosecutors in courts everywhere in the country rely on cooperating witnesses to do what Juliana has done in this case, which is to speak to the truth and offer direct evidence of crimes, including those cooperating witnesses that they themselves have committed serious offenses. When a prosecutor makes a promise, the court ought to give it serious weight. Your Honor, I'll say I'm disappointed but not surprised that the Commonwealth didn't advocate today for the recommendation. I have deep respect for Ms. Bristler and Ms. Sands and the prosecution team. I suspect that this is frankly because of public sentiment regarding the agreement that they made.
Recommendation.
I'm going to continue to make
I
that mistake.
understand.
Your Honor, I just want to touch on a few things that I've just reviewed.
Yes, yes.
Your Honor, the importance of the cooperation. Ms. Sands did communicate to me that she interviewed the foreman of the jury, who said 3 things to them, 3 things that Ms. Sands relayed to me, that they believed Juliana Perez Magalhães, that her testimony was integral. That was the word that Ms. Sands used. In other words, central to their decision to convict Brendan Banfield. And third, that they didn't believe Brendan Banfield. Your Honor, that is important for the court to consider because, again, up until her testimony, which was presented first in the Commonwealth series of witnesses, the Commonwealth had only a theory. The Commonwealth had circumstantial evidence, forensic evidence, electronic forensic evidence, digital forensic evidence, and others. But it was Juliana who ultimately told the story firsthand of what occurred. Because that decision was integral in the jury's decision, I think it could be said, and of course the court presided over the entire trial. You can determine her credibility yourself, but the jury certainly found it integral to their decision. And for that reason, the Commonwealth's recommendation, the joint recommendation, should be given heavy consideration by the court in this case. Your Honor, I briefly want to just touch on the delay in cooperating. It was evident to the defense that from Juliana's first date of arrest that they wanted her cooperation desperately. Her cooperation didn't come quickly. And our position is that at that time, she was still under the grip of Brendan Banfield, and the plan that he had convinced her would work. She still believed that there wouldn't be sufficient evidence for a conviction, and she was relying on Brendan's plan to get her through her arrest and prosecution. As she languished in jail, discovery dripped in. We really didn't receive significant discovery until after the preliminary hearing in this case. And even leading up to the trial date, we still hadn't received much of the digital forensic evidence that was made central to Brendan Banfield's case. Your Honor, the tipping point was perhaps the arrest of Brendan Banfield. That broke his grip on Juliana. The communications between Brendan and Juliana ceased. There were no further assurances that things would be okay for her, that they would have a life together afterwards. She was left alone, truly alone. No communications from his mother or family or other people, and no ability for her to actually contact her own family. She was left alone upon Brendan's arrest, and that was a huge factor in her coming forward. Your Honor, when she did come forward, we moved rapidly. We had a lengthy debrief followed by a plea within a day or two of that debrief. The next several months resulted in continued debriefings. We were available at every request of the Commonwealth. She continued to be candid and open with her statements, and I haven't heard any issues with her reluctance to answer questions in those debrief sessions. Your Honor, if she hadn't testified, there's a good chance that Brendan wouldn't have been convicted. First, the Commonwealth believed her. Secondly, Brendan chose to testify himself. I doubt he would have done that without her testimony. He chose to directly challenge her statement of offense, her account of what occurred, and he was caught in his own lies. Beginning with, shortly after cross-examination, the question of whether he loved her or not, and him saying, well, I didn't really love her. There were certain things that were in the way. And finally ending with his testimony about an important meeting that he was going to. Upon reviewing that testimony, his boss came forward and testified the next day that there was no meeting. Brendan's lies ultimately resulted in his conviction, but he might not have testified if Juliana hadn't testified. Your Honor, I appreciate the comments of Joseph Ryan's family, and I've read the letters that were filed by Christine's family, and there's no words I can offer to console them at this time. But it is critical that there was no trial in this case, that there is finality for the families, and that there was cooperation by Juliana that resulted in Brendan's conviction. Your Honor, the last thing I want to comment on is the agreement in this case, the recommendation.
Thank you.
I had hoped the language of the plea agreement says that the Commonwealth recommends. It doesn't say they have to get up and advocate or pound their fist and argue to what extent the cooperation was important. But the court can weigh that yourself. It was critical. Her cooperation and testimony was critical to the outcome of Brendan Banfield's case. This was an agreement for a recommendation that was made with full knowledge of what the facts were of the case and what public sentiment might be regarding the agreement for Juliana in this case. The agreement was made anyway.
Recommendation.
Recommendation.
Thank you.
The recommendation was made with the input of all the victims, of the police department, and all the important people as required by law. And there was no pushback at that time, Your Honor. I have a position in my sentencing memo whether this is an agreement or a recommendation under A1, A, or C. I'll maintain that argument, Your Honor. I ask that the court follow the joint recommendation of the parties and impose an active sentence of no more than time served in this case.
All right, thank you, Mr. Campbell.
I didn't think that was a very good.
Ms. Perez-Magley, if you
presentation
could
for
stand
her.
up, please.
There we go.
If you could stand up, Mr.
The moment of
President.
truth.
I like it.
Joe, what do you think? More than time served?
I hope so. I mean, he effectively said she
Is there
came
anything you wish to
forward
say at this time
and
before
talked
sentence
until
is
she
imposed?
was sure she couldn't get
Yeah,
away
I'd
with
like
it.
to read a statement.
Oh, she's got a statement. Look at
I
that.
have caused you all pain that cannot be measured and forever changed so many lives. I pray for forgiveness from the Benson family and from Joseph Ryan's family and from Valerie. I will never forgive myself for the pain caused. I hope that my cooperation in this case somehow begin to help repair the damage caused. There is nothing I could possibly do to make it up to you, to your loss.
Here come the fake
There are
tears.
so many regrets. But this is my biggest. That's it. That's a tragedy I have been carrying with me, and I will always do. It's something I have nightmares with. A tragedy I know I can never take back the devastation of what I have done. I know that my remorse cannot bring you peace. I hope you might someday understand that I truly do not believe that his plan would have actually happened. I have grown so much over the past 3 years. I look back at my younger self, at 22 years old, falling head over heels for someone 15 years older. They only seen his good side and clinging to someone that showed me love. I lost myself in a relationship, leaving my morals and values behind, and putting even my loved ones through this. My time in jail has been a time of reflection for me, to better myself in more ways than I realized I needed. I had to find myself again. That's when I truly found God, when I had lost the desire to live, when I wanted to die. The guilt and feelings that I didn't deserve to live and that I was a monster were overwhelming. In God, I found the forgiveness and mercy, and I am restored. Jail is not a place you can bear to let yourself drown in those feelings. I wanted to disconnect from my pain and the guilt and get into survival mode to stay mentally sane, because inevitably, with the memories comes pain. Yet, I know I will live with this for the rest of my life. God and I only know the shame and guilt and sorrow I carry for all I have caused. Sorry for Joe's family and Christine's family. Sorry for Valerie, an innocent little girl who has so much love that will grow without her mother and our father. This is a heavy burden to carry, knowing you could have prevented it at all from happening. I understand that I am to blame, and I'm truly sorry for the pain it caused. I hope someday I can be forgiven, as I hope to be able to forgive myself. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. In this matter, the court does find that the manslaughter charge was a large benefit of your bargain for testifying, which was a huge bargain in a plea deal. You could have been facing life plus 3 years, and now the maximum I can sentence you to today is 10 years. That's clearly a trade for your cooperation with the Commonwealth and what the Commonwealth offered. And you accepted that along with the Commonwealth's recommendation for time served, which is not an agreement, and as you know, not binding on the court, as we discussed at length at your plea. The reduction of the charge is a mitigation. I have Watched your interviews and I watched you testify, and I just cannot find any further mitigation factors for your case. You may not have come up with a plan, agreed, and an older man may have groomed you to a point, but I want to list for the record the facts that I cannot equate with accepting a time-served recommendation. These are aggravating factors either not fully captured or not reflected in the sentencing guidelines. Number one, until today, you have shown no empathy for the victim in this case. Number two, you were more involved with the plan than you testified to. First off, there were numerous postings on social media platforms and text platforms looking for a target, texting and speaking directly with Joseph Ryan, encouraging him to bring the knife, and ultimately through the phone conversation, getting his consent, knowing all along you were bringing him to his death. Lying to Christine and setting up the plan for the zoo, using her devices and hiding her phone, using a child as a pawn in your plan, waiting outside for Joseph to show up, calling Mr. Banfield to bring him to the scene, and at any point for at least the month prior or that day, you could have stopped this. The plan did not work without your full involvement. Number three, having the loaded firearm in your pocket. Number four, bringing a child into the basement knowing two people were about to be murdered, to include the child's mother. Number five, hearing Christine ask you to call 911, which you did and then immediately hung up. Number six, seeing Joseph Bryan, who was shot in the head at that time, still moving and walking up to him as he lay moaning on the floor and shooting him point blank in the heart. Number seven, watching as Mr. Banfield stabbed Christine over and over again. Number eight, waiting 15 minutes before recalling 911. Number nine, telling a fabricated story for over a year and a half, a story that depicted Joseph Ryan wrongly as a rapist and a murderer, an innocent man. And number 10, telling the child it was okay to call you mommy hours after the murder. Your actions were deliberate, self-serving, and demonstrated a profound disregard for human life. So let's get it straight. You do not deserve anything other than incarceration and a life of reflection on what you have done to the victim and this family. May it weigh heavily on your soul. So today I'm sentencing you on a manslaughter charge because that's what's before me. And the facts of this case demonstrate an intentional and calculated level of violence that is the most serious manslaughter scenario that this court has ever seen. Therefore, I do sentence you to 10 years in the penitentiary, as required by Virginia Code 19.2, 295.2. After you've completed your 10-year sentence, I will order an additional 2 years suspended, and you will be placed on probation pursuant to Virginia Code 19.2, 303. Since you have been convicted of a felony in Virginia, a sample of your DNA will also be drawn for the state police database. Are there any questions, Mr. Campbell? All right, anything further in this case?
She's not happy. Look at her.
No, ma'am.
Boom.
Okay. All right, you're mandated to the custody of the sheriff.
Yeah, the agreement.
I believe that completes the docket. Is that correct?
Yeah, Joe, did you see that?
Okay.
Did you see
Court
that
will be in
look she
recess.
just gave the judge?
Well, yeah, did you see her when she was, of course. The agreement was to recommend, and in any of these, the defendant is told that the judge doesn't have to accept the sentence. What you heard this judge say was at the plea, the judge made clear that she understood that. So she went in with her eyes wide open. I hate these deals. You get a cold-blooded murderer who gets a really good, deal. But I also recognize this, I think everyone does, that sometimes to get the other person, there's no way out. But I am really pleased that the judge went for the maximum. I thought that might be what she would do. I thought this judge was really good at the trial. I really liked this judge. And she did a great job of listing all the factors that push towards the maximum. I thought the defense lawyer was just, in many ways, terrible. I mean, he essentially said that Juliana didn't come forward until she realized that they weren't going to get away with it. I mean, I'm rephrasing it, but that's what he said. Yeah. And I think he should have just focused on the fact that her testimony was really important, that they might not have gotten a conviction of Banfield otherwise, and stuck with that and not gone on to the other things he said, because I think everything else he said was not particularly persuasive argument for the defense side.
I am so personally happy about this. I mean, you heard family of Joseph Ryan up there, and they got up and talked. The mother obviously talked about how he's her Christmas baby. He's born 2 days before Christmas. Talks about how his middle name Nathan means a gift. how she's now at this point saying good morning to him every day by turning on the Christmas lights, which was just devastating. But not hearing back from him. She lost her confidant. She listened to him, or he listened to her without judgment. She lost her biggest ally. Then the aunt spoke. And look, I think this really resonated with the judge. At that point, while these victim impact statements are being read, Juliana seemed to have no emotion, and she had discretion. She made it very clear, the judge did, that she could only sentence her to a maximum of 10 years, and that's exactly what she did. But Joe, she said this is the worst manslaughter case this court has ever seen. That's saying something.
Well, she also very clearly said, without saying it directly, that if this had been a murder, if she had been prosecuted and convicted of murder, she would have given her a heavy sentence under the murder. She said, I'm stuck with what this deal was. I can't do more than the deal.
I think she would have sentenced her to life if she could
I
have.
do too. I do too.
The mother continued to go on and say that I lost my rock and my protector. That he would say to the mom, Mom, you should be kinder to yourself. And then it was just painful to listen to, because on that body cam footage, she says she can never unhear the moans and groans from him, her son, after he was shot. Then a woman named Sangeeta Ryan gets up. That's Joseph Ryan's aunt. And she says that the family had to remain, or wanted to remain, silent out of respect to the justice system. She called Juliana and Brendan Banfield wolves in sheep's clothing, and that telling the truth doesn't absolve her of the crime. She said that they're there to validate to the world that he is not this monster. But this case is just crazy. The trial was weird. But of all the people involved in this case, Joe Patuto, my heart, it's part of me that really goes out to Joseph Ryan more than anybody else, because he was dragged into this. Like, it's one thing to be murdered, but it's also another thing to be murdered when your name is dragged through the mud and people think that you're this, this fetish guy responding to this ad. I mean, it was particularly bad.
Well, and to be used as a pawn, not as a human being, but just as a kind of an item in a plan, as though he wasn't a human being. He didn't have a family. He didn't have a life. He didn't have anything. And he was just their way of getting away with the murder. I mean, it's so cold and calculated. It's hard to believe, however much, I think murder is, obviously it's terrible, but to reach out to someone who has no involvement, no relationship with anything, and bring him in order that you can blame the murder on him is such a level of deviousness and evil that it's really hard to describe adequately.
Yeah, and in her own words during testimony, she admits that she puts the kill shot into Joseph Ryan.
Yeah.
That's tough for me to, he got up, he was stumbling around, and she shoots, not Brendan Banfield, not that he's any better, but she shoots and kills him. I mean, I know you're not a psychologist. I know you're a law professor. By the way, check out Prof. Joe Explains on the YouTubes. But there are people in the chat saying she'll kill again, or is capable of it. What do you think? Just from
I think so too. I don't think she's got empathy. I'm speaking from just watching, obviously, but it doesn't seem to me that she has empathy. 22 or not, to engage in a plan to bring somebody in who has no involvement whatsoever and use him as just, an object to kill the mother of the child that you're tending to make up a story to bring that your victim through the mud and claim that he murdered, and then to keep it silent until you realize that there's no way you're going to get out of it. That doesn't sound to me like, some 22 or not, that does not sound to me like anyone who's learned anything from this.
Yeah, 100%. Abby Crossing here, mind you that she's already served approximately 2.5 years, so will only serve incremental 8.5 years. Joe, any idea? I have no idea what the deal is in Fairfax with, early release. Will she only have to serve like 2/3 of the time? Because she could be out probably in like 5
I
to
don't
6
know.
years.
I should have looked again. It seems to me I looked maybe 5 weeks.
Well, you just went You just got muted. I don't know how. Sometimes it does. Let me try to unmute your. Oh, there you
I
go.
did. I'm pretty sure I looked about 4 to 5 weeks ago, but it's getting mushed with all these other trials. So I don't remember now whether Virginia has an 85% rule, which some of them do, that you've got to serve 85% and then you can get out at that point. Somebody in the chat may know. I don't think Virginia has parole. I do think it's 85%, but I'm relying on my memory. And as I say, there have been so many other trials. But
what did you make of the Commonwealth? They just got up there and said we're just standing by our previous argument. How do you read between the lines?
Oh, absolutely. What they were saying was, we hate this deal. Don't follow our recommendation. That's exactly what they did.
Really? So
sure, if they really endorsed the recommendation, they would have made an argument about it. And you heard the defense lawyer say, I'm not surprised they didn't say anything. If they really stood behind the recommendation, if it wasn't something that they felt they had to do, being dragged along in order to get Banfield, if that wasn't the case, she would have gotten up and said, she cooperated with us the whole way. We wouldn't have been able to get the conviction without her. It's our view that she was complicit, but that he was the major factor here. And they would have made a big argument for her. And they got up and said nothing. That told the judge, I think the judge would have done what she did anyway, but that told the judge that the prosecution was saying, we made this deal only because we didn't think there was any other way to get Banfield, but we hate the deal, so don't follow our recommendation.
Wow. I don't know that I'm sure it happens often, but I haven't covered enough cases in my true crime career to know that that's a thing, but I'm glad that they did it. And again, the defense attorney here was just, between this guy and John Carroll, just like weakness all around. Juliana gets up there, no real, I think she had some real tears when she got to Valerie. That's the 4-year-old daughter, then 4-year-old daughter, who I guess is now about 6 years old. She said, I've caused pain that cannot be forgiven. That sentence alone, when you say I've caused pain that cannot be forgiven, give her a sentence. And that's what the judge did. So Judge A from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, she said, look, the max is 10 years. It could have been life. She said right off out of the gates, I cannot accept the time served recommendation. You showed no remorse. You posted numerous times on social media. You encouraged Joseph Ryan to bring a knife so that you have a reason to kill this guy. You used a child, Valerie, as a pawn. You were calling Mr. Banfield to come to the house, and your plan would not have worked without your full cooperation. And then you went and depicted Joseph Ryan as a murderer. Your actions were deliberate. And she says this is the most serious manslaughter case this court has ever seen. And the Marine coming up big, just as we thought, dropping the anvil on Juliana Perez Margolese. So 10 years.
Of course, let me say, of course, this is the worst manslaughter fact pattern she ever saw, because had it not been for the deal, they never would have charged manslaughter. It would have been a murder case. You don't get these facts in a voluntary manslaughter case.
Yeah, even in terms of murder, this is about as bad as it gets, I think. But either way, this is awful. A lot of questions. I know this can be perceived as political. It is not, but I don't know if you know this or not, Joe Patuto, but after her time served in the Department of Corrections, are they able to deport her back to Brazil?
Oh, I'm sure they will. She's been convicted of manslaughter. She's not a citizen, so it isn't as though you'd have to go through whatever they would call it to revoke citizenship, which is extraordinarily.
Oh, you just muted again, Joe. This happens on StreamYard every once in a while. I don't know why. You're gonna have to unmute.
And the other thing that I did look at with regard to Virginia, and this I do remember because it didn't get mushed with a bunch of other trials, was there had been some information, at least in the media, that Juliana might have been in touch or was considering a deal to do a documentary on all of this. So I did look at Virginia law with regard to the ability to write a book or do a documentary and then and then pocket the proceeds when you were involved in the murder. And Virginia has a statute, they don't call it a son of Stan statute, which is what a lot of them are called, where on a conviction for an intentional killing, which I think this is, there can be a petition made to the Attorney General that any funds that would come from a book or a documentary or anything else would be put in escrow. And then presumably Valerie or the victims of the act, maybe Joseph Ryan's family, would be able to access those funds. So I was very pleased to see that.
I hope that she cannot profit in any way, and I hope all that money goes to Valerie and Joseph Ryan's family. Jen Wowza here. It is the 85% rule for violent felons. So
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking then probably she could be out in like 5-6 years. It's not, it's not a full 10
because
years.
she'll get credit for time served.
Yeah. Yeah, the law is tough that way. Joe Picciuto, I got to ask you, what the hell is going on with the Nancy Guthrie case? I don't know how close you've been following it. Do you feel
I have been following to the extent I can.
Do you feel like it's a legit kidnapping? Some people are saying it's like a home invasion gone bad. What's your gut tell you about
I don't think it's a home invasion. I mean, obviously it's just me talking. I don't think it's a home invasion gone bad. I think it is a kidnapping, but we will find out. I think I think the facts are just very, very strange. I mean, for a kidnapping, they didn't post the request right away. They had two sources to pay. They had a kind of a do it now, or if you do it later, it's going to be more money. All those things are really very, very odd. But I think part of what I see happening is I do not think that the sheriff, and it's only from what I see in the media, I don't think the sheriff is doing a very good job. I don't think he's very experienced in these sorts of things. From what you hear from others, he's got a big ego and is very reluctant to delegate. I heard Josh Ritter last night, because he's in Tucson. He's in Tucson. That the sheriff, on some of the evidence that DNA evidence that they found yesterday or the day before, refused to give it to the FBI so Quantico could analyze it, and he sent it off to a private lab, which seems to me to be just extraordinary. I mean, Quantico, from what everybody says, has the best facilities and the best people to do this. And this sheriff not only wouldn't send it there, but now he's costing taxpayers money because he sent it to a private lab that they're going to have to pay for, which seems to support the claims that he wants to be in charge. And I think there have been things with regard to the investigation that just seem odd to me. Releasing the scene right away seems just bizarre to me. Now they're going back in and out. So, once there's an arrest made and a prosecution, they're going to claim that crime scene was, can't be trusted because of all the people that were in and out. As I understand it, they missed a camera on the roof. So the crime itself just is really hard for me to fathom. And then the way the investigation has gone, it seems to me complicates it. But I guess we're going to see. I mean, I hope she's still alive. I hope the information that she needed the meds every day was kind of, in a way, overstated. Of course, you've got a heart condition, you need heart meds, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll die immediately without them. The way insulin, I think, might do if you were a diabetic.
Right.
It's hard to even, I don't know that we even know whether she was targeted because she was Savannah's mother or because she was living in a very exclusive neighborhood.
It's tough to tell. If you guys did not see this, and I know I'm plugging my own show, but I'd be plugging this if it was on Jesse Waters, and I bring him up because I can't stand that dude. But I had Greg McCrary on last night. He is an original. He entered the FBI in 1969. You just look at him, and he looks like a profile. He looks like an FBI agent, and he is a brilliant mind. He came on the first half hour of the show, and under the video tab, we broke it out and just did his 30-minute interview. The way he discusses this, the way he breaks it down is so fascinating. I'm telling you, if you're a true crime fan, you have got to check this out. FBI Special Agent Greg McCrary. and he's under our video tab, and you'll see it there. It's called Analyzing an Abductor. Joel, be nice. I will. I just cannot. I can't stomach Jesse Waters. If you hate me,
No, but you
if
also
you hate me for that, then just hate me. Go ahead, Joe.
You also had the former deputy sheriff, if that's what he was called.
Chief deputy, former chief deputy for Pima County, and he's talking about the political divide right now between Pima County and the FBI. There's a peeing match going on, and there you go. I mean, they're not getting along. Brian Enton reported that no one knows who to report to there. They don't know who's in the lead. Like, they don't know.
Terrible.
It's awful.
You know, when you've got a good investigation at the beginning, the prosecution is so much smoother and easier. You know, the defense is going to say, gee, they didn't do a good enough job. They missed this, they missed that, no matter how good it is. But if you start out with one that isn't done well, you just give more fodder and make the prosecution more difficult. And you would think that the sheriff, and from what I see, I put more of the responsibility on the sheriff, would put the need for the easiest prosecution possible, and the victims who are sitting there waiting to hear something over these petty concerns about who's in charge, and this is my my area, and I'm the one who should be making the decisions. It's really troubling. I have no defense for it at all. I can't think of a good reason why he would be acting the way it appears he's acting.
By the way, my disdain for Jesse Waters has zero to do with politics. He's just an absolute putz of a human being, and I know him, and I probably should stop talking about it. I don't care. I'm delirious on a Friday, but it has zero to do with politics. He's a clown. In my opinion, absolute clown of a human being. Joe Patuto, I hate to end on a negative note like that, but
I'll give you another negative one. We're waiting on the Canera trial for a verdict. There's somebody who's accused of murdering his brother, his sister-in-law, his niece, and his nephew, 8 and 11, knifing them to death, leaving them to die in the fire.
That's one of the most heinous crimes. Are they on verdict watch there?
Yep, they went out at. And they should have gone out on verdict watch days ago. That trial has been the slowest moving that I've ever watched. But yeah, they went out at about 8:18 this morning. 5.5 hour closings from the defense and from the prosecutor.
Someone said, why talk about Jesse Waters? Why not? The guy's a total putz. Anyway, I work for Fox, so I work there. I'm not anti-Fox News. I'm just anti-Jesse Waters. I'd like to get in an octagon with him if I could. But I digress. I'm just having Carm right now is probably screaming at the screen. Speaking of Carm, Joe Patuto, Carm and I are coming on in 27 minutes. We're going to look at Nancy Guthrie from a
great.
Therapist lens, which is who my mother is, and we're going to look at the family, Nancy Guthrie's family, obviously Savannah, Cameron, Annie Guthrie. So tune in 27 minutes, everybody, and Carm and I will be here with smiles on our faces, talking about a tough story. But Joe Patuto, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, the au pair is spending a little more time than she thought in prison. She got sentenced to 10 years. Connie loves Jesse Waters, and Connie continue to love him. I can't support people like Bill O'Reilly and Jesse Waters, Bill O'Reilly, this was rich. He's on News Nation talking about the Epstein files and how these accusers are overreacting and they should just settle, coming from a man who has settled multiple sexual lawsuits, including paying one woman $32 million to walk away. And that's who they have on discussing sexual assault in the Epstein case. They have Bill O'Reilly, and his little protege is Jesse Waters, who the minute he got some money and some fame, dumped his wife and his 2 kids and went on. And now apparently there are issues again. But it's none of my business. It's Friday and I'm delirious. But if you have an octagon and Jesse Waters is willing to hop in there with me, game on, baby. Joe Patuto, sorry to put you through that. I'm just in a weird mood at the moment. As you can tell, I should probably shut up. Joe, thank you so much. Her YouTube channel is Prop Joe Explains. Check it out. And we will see you at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. We'll see you in 25 minutes. Love you all. And justice for Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. Horrific crime.